Frequently, our most useful tools are developed as a result of frustration with available options. On this episode of Rock School Proprietor Podcast, I'm talking with Sam Lellouche, founder of Opus1 Software. Sam shares his journey from running a small music school to scaling operations and ultimately creating software specifically designed to solve the problems music schools face daily. We're diving into customer-centric development, flexible scheduling and billing, the traits of successful music school owners, and why the right software investment can transform your profitability. This is part origin story, part business strategy, and all practical insight. Stay tuned. Just a quick heads up to our listeners that I'll be speaking at the NAMM show in Anaheim, California on Saturday, January 24th. My session's called Reimagining Private Music Lessons for Today's Learners, and if you're going to be there, I would love to see you. And even if you can't make the session, but you're heading to NAMM, shoot me an email at info@rockschoolproprietor.com. I'd love to connect while we're at the show. Welcome to Rock School Proprietor Podcast. My name is John Kozicki, and joining me on the podcast today is the founder of Opus1.io, and he is also the owner and executive director of Opus1 Music School with locations in Mountain View and Palo Alto, California. Sam Lellouche, how are you today, Sam?
I'm doing great. Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we're going to talk about Opus1 today, the software. Probably we're going to talk about Opus1, the music school also. So how do you think we should distinguish between the two in this conversation to not get confused?
Yeah, it's a great question. The names are confusing, and I'm obviously not good with names. When I started the software company, I'm just going to use the Opus1 name. It's such a great name. It's such music related. But yeah, so there is Opus1 Music Studio, the music school. And Opus1 Development Studio is the name of the company that's built the software called Opus1.io. The story really started with my music school. I can start from the start and really trying to. So as you said, right? I'm not a musician myself. So my wife is the classically trained piano teacher who started Opus1 actually a few years before she met me. Mm-hmm. And I've always been into music. I played multiple instruments, love music, but my career has really been in tech and business in Silicon Valley here in Palo Alto and Mountain View. And really the story started when I met my wife. I was super impressed that she had started her own business. She was not just teaching students in her living room. She had started a school and I actually saw the school because it was near in the strip mall near my grocery shop nearby my house, and I had noticed the school and I love music, so I checked it out. Anyway, so I met her and she was, as we started dating, she was telling me kind of, every day kind of the problems that she was facing. It was every day like, oh, I have this mom who wants some makeup, and I have this teacher that wants to quit. I have this teacher that's taking too much time off, or I have all these problems. Yeah. And I started kind of getting sucked in that industry and solving those problems with her because she would ask me every day those questions. And that's how really I got into music school. I was taking also piano lessons at the time, so I ended up taking piano lessons at her school. And long story short, when I met her, she had about 100-something students, and actually she was about to give up. She was telling me, I work so hard. I make less money than if I just taught full time, and I have to deal with all these problems. I have to run payroll. I have to do marketing. I have to do all these things, and it's overwhelming. And she was kind of that first glass ceiling that we see a lot of schools struggle when they get to 2 or 3 teachers. And really, music school owners don't go to an MBA and open a music school, right? They're solo teachers, and then they end up hiring a second teacher, renting a space, and they become business owners, right, overnight. And it's overwhelming. It's a lot of things that you have to learn how to figure out. And so I knew nothing about music schools. I only loved music, and I told her, hey, you have a great brand going on. You have a great name. You have 2 or 3, 4 employees at the time.
An excellent
customers.
Name. So good you used it twice.
Great name, yeah. And I'm like, it would be a shame to give up, and let's try to. So I told her, let's see if I can help you, right? Let's see if we can figure this out together. And it was a journey, right? So fast forward, now we have 1,400 students over 3 locations. So we went from 100-something students in that close to 10, a little bit over 10 years journey, and Yeah, so about 100 students to 1,400 now. I let you do the math. We charge about $300 per month. We're in Palo Alto, so pretty affluent area here.
Yeah.
We had also a lot of competition with a lot of other schools in the area. And yeah, so through that journey, really figuring out and streamlining our operations and trying to really solve all these problems that we're having daily, especially as we scaled, we got bigger and bigger problems to deal with. And yeah, and so we through that journey we tried. So we had to streamline operations. We had to do a lot of things, and I'll talk about some of them. And really where the software came in is after a few years of trying all kinds of different software that were all really bad. They were all either really clunky. They were either not built for music schools. And when I'll name a few names. We were on Pike 13 for a while, but before that we had Jackrabbit. Before that we had Mindbody and others, and they were just very clunky. They didn't do what we needed. And also as we started scaling, we also saw like other software that were built for music school, but really built for the solo teachers, right? Not built for the schools with hundreds of students. And I had a strong conviction that we had to offer flexibility to our customers. So I'll talk all about makeup and automating makeups and self-booking, for example. And the story, for example, on the makeups is that a lot of the problems that every day we were dealing with was about makeups and rescheduling. Constantly, I saw that problem keep coming back. And at first, I told my wife, hey, I don't know how music schools work, but what do your competitors do? Oh, they don't do makeups. So I'm like, okay, how about we do makeups? How about we offer more flexibility to our customers? They will appreciate it. Maybe we can even charge more for lessons if we offer some level of flexibility, because moms are busy. The kids have all these activities and school events and things like that. And of course, they have to respect their teacher's time, but they need flexibility in some time, and maybe multiple times a year, cancel lessons and book a makeup lesson so they get what they paid for. So we started offering a lot of flexibility around makeup, but quickly after 200-300 students, it became a nightmare. It was
right. You know where this goes.
Most music school owners know what I'm talking about. And we were burning through admin staff who were getting frustrated, and it took forever to train them on the software that we were using at the time. They were making mistakes. We had maybe a couple of different staff at the time, and we realized that every staff was having a different process to do certain things, and it would take like so many clicks to enroll the students, and people could not sign up on their own. People could not cancel lessons on their own. People could not book their makeups. We had so many problems. I mean, it went from, I can give you another few examples. For example, my wife would spend hours working before the recitals. And that's only when we had maybe 300 students, not even like thousands like now. And I would ask her, what are you doing? What are you spending so much time doing? And I'm like, I'm aligning all the students' names on our recital program, because then we have to print it and we have to make it like a little booklet. And she would spend hours and hours doing it. So I started first building little tools that helped us, on my weekends, helped her, run the school and automate certain things, like generating a resale program or getting some metrics for the business, like how many trials did we have last month? How many converted to full-time lessons? How much, what is the lifetime of our students? What is our teachers' retention? Like, because we're doing performance review for teachers, and we're having no data on how they were doing, whether they're retaining their students or not. So we were just missing all the business metrics that we needed to run the business. And simple things like, almost every day, my wife would ask me, hey, can you help me run a custom mail merge or something? I need to email all the students that are taking guitar on Tuesday because we have this guitar showcase coming up. Or I need to email only the piano students, or only the piano students that we lost in the last 30 days. And it was impossible to do. There was we were using a mix of MailChimp and merge list and Excel and Google Sheets, doing exports and filtering, and we realized quickly that, hold on, the student take the lesson, but we want to email the parents, and they're two different things, although they're connected. So we're having all these different problems. And fast forward a couple of years of frustration, and I spent actually a lot of time at the front desk myself, because as you surely know, when your staff doesn't show up on especially, I had a full-time job at the time, but on Saturday and Sunday, I would be at the front desk because sometimes our staff gets sick and somebody's got to be there. Yeah. So I really learned all the day-to-day and all the frustrations on enrolling students and dealing with teacher telling us at 8:45 a.m., hey, I have a flat tire, I'm not coming today, or I'm sick, and I have to all of a sudden cancel like 20 lessons and email 20 parents and issue them a makeup credit or a refund, and dealing with all these day-to-day, sometimes painful operations. And it gets more painful as you get bigger and bigger. Yeah. So we tried different software. and none of them really did what we want. And we scaled, but very painfully. We were, like I said, burning through admin staff who were staying for 6 months or 9 months and then we were just tired and exhausted of dealing with all the makeup drama and the rescheduling and just how busy it was, all the busy work they had to do, whether it was planning the recital, running payroll, just doing billing. At the time we were doing, as you know, there's some months have 5 Mondays, some months have 4 Mondays, some months have 3 Mondays because of holidays, and not every month has 4 lessons. So we were doing all kind of crazy things to do billing correctly and to bill our customers. So it was just unmanageable. And I'm like, how do people run music schools? This is just insane. And we tried all the different software out there. I'm like, there's got to be a software. I mean, at first he was using pen and paper and Google Calendar. So I'm like, first we have to get you off this. We'll never scale.
Sam, let me interject here and ask a question, because when you said the pen and paper and Google Calendars, I was there with my first music school, the very first one, right? And at that point, we're talking 2009, there weren't a lot of software options at that point. So going back to those early days, what time frame are we talking? And
good question.
How long had the school been running?
Yeah, so my wife started the school in 2006, actually. So we're going to be celebrating 20 years, actually, next year.
Wow.
Really exciting.
Yeah.
She met me only a few years later, and when she actually opened her real first location in Mountain View. So maybe 2011, 2012, around that time.
Yeah, not a lot of software options at that time.
Yeah.
And would you say that's when your wheels started spinning, thinking, when did you start thinking like, you know what, we've tried these software platforms and maybe I should just build one myself?
All right.
When did that happen?
Yeah, it took a few years, and also, I mean, obviously, our personal stories, we were dating, so it wasn't really my business. I was just helping my girlfriend at the time. And then 2, 3, 4 years went by, and then eventually we got engaged and opened a second location. And I'm like, at some point, I'm like, this is my business now. I need to run it with her.
Right.
And I'm committed not just to this relationship, obviously, but to this business. And I loved it. It was exciting. And that's actually coincided when we opened up Palo Alto, our second location. And at that time, I really started every night after work at 6, 7 p.m. I would go to the studio, interview teachers, sometimes fire teachers, because the school was open until 9 p.m. So I had a day job and then I had a night job. As you say, you have your 9 to 5 and your 5 to 9, right? So I had my 5 to 9, and then my weekends were consumed for years about running the music school. So sitting at the front desk, dealing with teachers, hiring staff, training them, figuring out our operations, reshaping our policies, updating our pricing, dealing with every aspect of the music school. So I really got involved. And then, of course, I had a full-time job and a busy career in tech at the time. But eventually, just the frustration just kept accumulating. And we got maybe painfully to 400 students, still, very painful. And we tried different software at the time. And with every new software, we're making improvements. But it was also obviously very painful to migrate from one software to another. We're making some improvements, but we're still lacking tons of stuff. And we had customers frustrated, telling us, why are you sending me a lesson reminder exactly 24 hours before the lesson when it's too late to cancel? And I'm like, because that's what our software does. I have no control over those, I'm sorry. I know it's frustrating. And they would be confused when they try to cancel a lesson with the software that we're using back then. They couldn't. And mind you, I'm dealing with parents that are executive at Facebook or Meta or Google engineers or, in an affluent Silicon Valley area where people tell me like, can't you have a better software than this? Like, why is your software looking like it was built in 1996 and never evolved since? Why can't I log in from my phone? Why can't I cancel lessons or reschedule? I can book a lesson. I can book an appointment at the Genius Bar at the Apple Store, but I can't cancel my lesson and book a makeup lesson. So we were dealing with all these frustration. My staff was frustrated. My wife also took hours sometimes to run payroll, and billing was a nightmare. I mean, at some point I was thinking, oh my God, this is just impossible. We're never going to make it. Scaling this business is just going to be impossible. But slowly but surely, we tweaked our policies, streamlined our operations, learn how to do marketing correctly, learn how to really identify problems. And I always try to take an innovative approach to addressing those problems. We had competitors that were using certain systems. Then I'm not going to name names, but there are certain systems out there where they help you with templated policies and stuff like that. And I looked at the policy and I'm like, I don't like it. No makeups or 2 makeups a year. My customers don't like that. We want to offer more flexibility than that. So I was trying to say, okay, let's try to figure out if we can offer customers really the flexibility they want while being able to scale our business, right? Maybe there is a way to make both happen, right? And eventually, we tweaked different software. I built little tools, in my weekends on top of Pike 13 at the time. And then eventually, around 2016, 2017, or end of 2017, I told my wife, you know what, fed up. We're stagnating around 400 or 500 students. It's very, very painful. We spend all our weekends doing busy work and burning through staff, and we were not able to scale this business. And there's so much potential, by the way, because I also saw in the music school business, a lot of the traits that I like in business in general, recurring revenue, long lifetime value of students, right?
Yeah.
A 6-year-old piano student will be with us for maybe 8 to 10 years. So there's a lot of value. Plus, obviously, the advantage of doing something we're passionate about, running our recitals and seeing these kids grow and play music and all that stuff. So I'm like, I see some good business fundamentals. I see us doing something that we truly love and we're passionate about. There's got to be a way we can scale this business and live off it. Because obviously I was working in tech and we were reinvesting all our money in growing the school. But I'm like, we need to go to, and I was doing the math with my wife and say, hey, if we had 400 students or 500 students, look how much we can start really making money with this. We're not, it could be a very profitable business if we scale it. I mean, obviously the margins are not very high, but we can, if only we could scale it, if only we could get, 100, 200, 300 more students, do the math and look. And we also had great retention. Our teachers are amazing and our students stayed with us for years. So I'm like, look at the retention, look at the value that we can do also for the community and grow this business. But if only we could have streamline operations and solve all these problems, right? So eventually I told her, listen, I've been using this software for years now. I sometimes know these software better than their own support team. And we ask them questions. They don't even know their own software. And I know their software better than them. I think I can build something better than this. I'm going to quit my job. I was VP of product and engineering at a tech company here in the Bay Area. And I was just both excited about running the school and full time and also building something. And I told my wife, listen, we're going to build the best software we want to use to manage our own school. We're going to solve all our problems because every problem we have, I can see a way to, with technology, optimize it, whether it's payroll, whether it's communicating with students, whether it's billing, whether it's a self-booking and self-rescheduling, whether it's managing our group classes, whether it's all these different aspects. I can build software. It's going to take me a while. We're going to do it gradually, but I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to build it. And my wife was very supportive. She told me, go for it. And it was pretty scary. And that's really how Opus1 was born. And I hired a couple of junior developers that I mentored, and we built it. We got ourselves in a room 10 in our Palo Alto studio, and we built the software. And within exactly about a year, actually, we ended up having what we call an MVP, a minimum viable product that we could use. And we switched all our operations for my school overnight on January 1st, 2019 to using Opus1. And we were using Pike 13 at the time, so we migrated everything over, credit cards, customers, schedule, and it worked great. My staff loved it. They're like, oh my God, I can cancel lesson in one button. The school policy is enforced automatically. The makeups are issued automatically. People can self-book their lessons. They were seeing all these benefits where it took 50 clicks to do something, to enroll a student, I can give you a couple of examples. When you enrolled a student, you had no idea if that slot was available on an ongoing basis. You had to open 3 windows to see, okay, which room is that teacher in on Tuesday? And is that time available that day, but also in the next 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks? I had to, and going through the calendar would take like 5 seconds every time. It would take half an hour to book a student. It was crazy. So all of a sudden the interface was fast. The system was modern. It would take me a few clicks to do things. And then we just kept adding features and things that we needed. Like, somebody cancels at the last minute. Oh, I can batch cancel all these lessons in one click. And or I can batch assign all these lessons when a teacher tells us they're not coming today. We can assign all these lessons to a sub teacher. And guess what? In one click, all the students get notified by email. And then we added SMS later on. And they get the bio and the photo of the sub teacher so they know who's subbing for them. And they don't have to call them one by one or email them one by one. So we just kind of started optimizing all these different aspects of running the school. And then we started scaling. And we went from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 students within a couple of years. Then the pandemic hit. We all took a hit. Then we know what happened. And by the way, when the pandemic hit, we added a join online button. And we were one of the first software, if not the only, for a long time, where people could join their Zoom lesson with one click and get connected to the right room with the right teacher. I knew some schools, but at that point, we had launched Opus1 to the public, and we had several schools using it, or at least our first maybe 30 or 50 early adopters. Yeah. And they were telling us, we're SMSing people manually every day to tell them to give them their Zoom links to make sure, because I mean, we were all trying to survive at the time. At the time, it was not about scaling; it was about surviving, right? You remember those days? So making sure people still join their lessons online. You remember? And so there were schools back then. At that time, we had launched Opus1 to the public, telling us, we're SMSing our students every day manually through a separate software. We're copy-pasting phone numbers and Zoom IDs, and we have this Excel sheet with all the Zoom links for all our teachers, and we're SMSing, 50, 70, 100 people a day to remind them of their Zoom lesson. And I'm like, okay, that's crazy. So we implemented, with a few months, we implemented SMS in Opus1 and also the Join Online button, and people could just SMS customers for other reasons and join their lessons online in one click. So we just kind of try to adapt, and really spending a lot of time talking to customers to really adapt to all the different ways they run their schools and the things that they really needed, and just build those features over the years. And that's really when we started scaling, right? It was just by being obsessed with what customers needed, both me as my own school owner customer, but also, then as we started having 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 music school customers telling us every day the things they needed, we've just been listening and implementing everything well, not everything, but a lot of what those schools needed, and really changing their lives and optimizing their business and helping them scale.
Well, and that gets to one of my questions. Now, first off, I'd say the foundation for what you're doing with Opus1, it's clear that you saw the specific problems in running a music school. So you're hands-on with those specific problems, and the entire project was all about how do we, and you use the word scale a number of times, how do we solve these problems so that we can scale? How do we solve these problems so that we don't have turnover with our admin staff who are getting frustrated with what we're doing? So you were looking at building kind of this all-in-one studio management software that will solve all these small little problems to allow you to run your business in a freer way. Now, you also mentioned feedback from users. How much does the feedback directly influence the direction of Opus1's features and development?
I mean, I would say it's crucial. We realized two things when we started early on, is that first, we had to have great support because we had to help those schools migrate. I had done the migration from Jackrabbit to Pack 13 and Pack 13 to Opus, and I've done those migrations. And many times I was asking myself, how does somebody do that? I'm an engineer. I was able to script and automate stuff, and it was just so painful. My wife would have never able to do it on her own. So how does an average music school owner go through these migrations? They're very difficult. So we have to have great support and people who really know the product inside out. And also, we had to really listen to our customers. And this is true for any tech company. You have to be extremely obsessed with your customers and talk to them all day long. So, early on, we did not necessarily support all the different cancellation policy and billing models that different music schools use. And we had to listen. And, I was using a flat monthly billing, but then we had schools that tell us, we really want the invoice to be automatically generated based on whether there's 5 lessons or 4 lessons or 3 lessons that month. And 3 weeks later, we had that feature, right? We had schools tell us, hey, in this state, in the US, we have to charge sales taxes for lessons. So we added sales taxes. So we've just been listening. We have a Facebook group for our customers. There's tons of feature requests daily, and we try our best to implement everything we can that makes sense. I spent tons of time myself. Now we have a much bigger team. We have over 50 employees now. We were maybe 2 years ago, we're still less than 10. So we listen to our customers. We're constantly on calls with customers, understanding their problems. Sometimes we disagree on what is a good business practice, but over time, when there is enough music schools that need a certain feature, we'll implement it, right? And we've been implementing, things from really started with the core, which is billing and scheduling. Then we added recital management. So, for example, managing recitals, letting students self-enroll, letting teachers enter the pieces, calculating the length of the session of your recital session to make sure each session doesn't go over, assigning accompanist, backing tracks, all these little things that music schools need to run their recitals. For example, generating the program. And for years now at my school and many of Opus1 customers, customers, when people walk in the resale, they just scan a QR code and they have the program on their phone. They don't need to print those booklets anymore. So we've just been constantly adding things that help these schools operate. So whether it's recital, billing, scheduling, payroll, communication, and then we started adding SMS, so being able to batch SMS students or follow up also with leads over SMS, because sometimes people are more likely to respond to you than if you are calling them and they don't recognize the number. So adding SMS. We've added also, this more recently, we also added voice, so you can place phone calls in Opus1.io. And when a customer calls you, you know who they are. You know how many times I picked up the phone in my school and I'm like, sorry, what's the name of your child? What is your name? And I can't find them in the system, and they're driving, they're late for the lesson. I don't know who I'm talking to. So now, somebody calls you, you picks up in Opus1.io and you see their name, and you can see right away, are they a prospect? Are they a member? And we do tons of other cool stuff with Opus1.io Voice that we just launched. It does also AI transcription of your calls and helps your staff, follow up on next steps with your prospect and things like that. So that we have tons of information on Opus1.io Voice on our website. So we added SMS Voice, and then we also added a full CRM suite. So you can manage your prospects, right? You can go and follow up on leads, and you have these different stages you can customize. So at my school, we have prospect new, prospect trial follow-up. So after they had a trial, if they haven't signed up yet, we need to follow up with them, and we need to call them, SMS them, email them to make sure they sign up. So having all these tools to do effective kind of like conversion, of trials and into members. We added also reputation management. So we go and get all your Google and Yelp reviews and help give you tools to get more reviews. And obviously, hopefully five-star reviews, which is super important for discovery and getting customers to know your school. We added prospect management, as I said. And then we added also email marketing. So you can also do your email marketing in Opus1.io, what we call like you start a newsletter, your one-time campaign, or your ongoing campaign with drip campaign. So we're adding all these different tools, and we have an exciting roadmap of more things that we're going to be adding. But we just kind of like try to provide everything in one place that music schools need, right? To communicate with their parents. Basically, the vision was to handle the whole life cycle of the students, right? From the discovery, how do they find you? How do they sign up for a trial? And with, obviously self-booking and being able to self-book, convert automatically if that slot is available. How does a student, after a trial, get an automated email that says, thank you for attending your trial. This slot is available. Do you actually want to sign up and secure it? Click here and, accept our terms and conditions and sign up. Obviously payments. So trial conversion. And then, dealing with the day-to-day retention and upselling and referral, right? So the whole customer life cycle and, your recitals, everything. So really trying to have this all-in-one platform that music schools can use to operate at scale. And now what's really magical about it is whether it's on Facebook or when I go to events, people walk up to me and tell me, oh my God, Sam, I want to thank you because your software changed our life. We're about to go bankrupt. We're about to give up on our music school, and now we're thriving. We're opening a second location, a third location. We have 5, 6, 7, 108 students. And we're able to operate. I mean, there's still challenges. I won't lie to you. It doesn't solve everything. I have problems today with teachers. So that's sometimes, software will not fix that. Right. But I mean, we streamlined everything we could, right? Everything that we can automate, everything that we can give you tools. And again, this is problems you start seeing when you start scaling, right? What I often tell people, like, if you have maybe 60 students and you're happy there is other software that are a better fit for you, right? We're going to be the right software for you if you either you really want to scale to the hundreds of students, or you're already at a couple hundred students and you really want to scale and operate more efficiently. This is really what Opus1.io was designed for. I mean, sometimes we have smaller schools that join us, and we're happy to help them as much as we can. But the software will be more complicated, will be more, have more settings, more things to set up front.
Yeah. Well, and I want to backtrack just a little bit, because you were talking about all the different features, and number one, scheduling and billing. That is, I think, baseline what all of us need to function smoothly and efficiently, and so that we can set our payments on auto pay and we get, a nice flow of income coming in every month consistently. Now, from users' point of view, what features of Opus1, because there's so many, consistently deliver the most value to their businesses, do you think? And that's not including the scheduling and the billing.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I'll tell you, lesson notes, for example, right? Like, that's something that I made mandatory in my school. Every teacher write lesson notes during the lesson. instead of after the lesson. And parents, we started doing that during the pandemic because sharing PDFs and music sheet during the pandemic was painful. They were doing it through our admin email and it was painful. So we added a feature to share PDFs and music sheets and adding lesson notes. And it became an invaluable tool because now when teachers do makeups or subbing for each other, they have all the notes of what the student's been working on, right? So there's just one example where it's not just a benefit for the end user. We realize parents now are calling us out sometime where the teacher forget to write lesson notes. And not only it benefits parents, which helps retention, obviously, because parents know what they're paying for. They, managing expectation with your students and the parents is, it's very important because they want to know what they're paying for and where this is going. How is my kid doing, right? But then we realize it's invaluable for teachers because they can sub for each other. When the teacher is sick, we can just assign lessons to another teacher. And then guess what? They know exactly what scale, what book they were working on, and they can just sub on the spot, right? So this is just one example, but we have tons. And I have to say, for some people, they tell me, the recital feature saved their life, or just the SMS and the prospect management, where we're using 5 or 6 different tools that cost us sometimes over $1,000 a month. And now for a third of that, we have everything in one place, better integrated. Some of the problems I was telling you about earlier, like how do you email people correctly, whether it's for a newsletter or recital announcement, or you have an exam sign up, or anything that you have to target specifically certain teacher by day, room, location, instrument, right? And it's practically impossible to do with any software out there except Opus. In Opus, you can just go to the calendar, filter by room, location, staff, instrument, teacher, whatever you want, and batch email, batch SMS people in one click. And people use that all day long.
That's so convenient. As I'm sitting here in Michigan right now and it's snowing today.
Exactly.
We don't think we're going to have a snow day, right? But that's the exact example when we have to close here because of snow, as a for instance. Well, it's one day, so we've got to make sure we're only contacting those people on that day, because tomorrow everything's going to be fine. So yes, it's just a matter of... And
it's not just contacting them. It's maybe you're issuing them a makeup credit because you don't want them to lose that lesson. Maybe you don't want to refund that lesson. You want to give them a makeup credit, and then you want to let them self-book that makeup on another day that you are open, right? So these are the things that schools owner know and deal with every day. Things like closures, right? So I'll give you a couple of examples of things that are more advanced that we do that nobody else does or comes remotely close to doing. You're going to have holidays where you're closed, right? And you have students booked on those holidays, right? Because, you have a Monday student. Well, there's going to be Monday that you're closed for holidays. So we automatically skip those lessons. And if you do what we call dynamic billing, that student will not be billed for that lesson because maybe that month will only have 3 Mondays because there's not a 4th or a 5th Monday. Nobody else does that correctly. But now let's say that students moves from Monday to Tuesday. Well, that lesson is going to happen now because it was not happening on Monday, but now it's happening on Tuesday, right? So how does billing gets recalculated automatically when not your closures don't change, but your students sometimes change schedule over time, right? So how do you move that Monday students and reactivate those Monday lessons that were not happening before? And now now it's a Tuesday student. So rescheduling of lessons on a recurring basis with the billing that goes with it. Being able to... So, for example, even if you take a step back, holiday closures, we all close our school for Christmas. It's coming up in a couple of weeks, for Thanksgiving, for July 4th, or depending on other countries. I had to go and manually cancel lessons, hundreds of lessons in the calendar with previous software. There was no batch cancellations. And I had to actually I think there was a software that did eventually have batch cancellation, but I had to go and batch cancel. Why am I doing this, right? We know when we're closed, the lessons can be automatically marked as closed, right? And reactivated when the lessons move. So we implemented all these features that end up saving you. And again, this is something you deal with when you have hundreds of students, or at least 100 or 200 students. When you have 50 students, you can deal with it. You're going to go cancel the lessons manually or email those people manually. But when you start dealing with any kind of scale, all these daily problems become impossible to deal with, or so time consuming and also error prone, because as soon as you do something, we're all humans. We're going to make mistakes. So I used to be so frustrated with my admins when they make mistakes, but now I realize, they're humans. They're going to make mistakes. When there is manual process, you will make mistakes. And guess what? Because I sat at the front desk, I know that the phone is ringing. A kid just got hurt. A teacher is telling you they're running late, and you have like 5 things happening at the same time. What should I do? And then, of course, you're going to forget to do something and make a mistake. Typical mistakes my admins used to make was we had softwares, and most of them work that way, where the billing and the scheduling are disconnected, right? So sometimes even in different software, but even if you have it in the same software, you would enroll a student and forget to bill them, or you would unenroll the students and you leave them on the calendar. You remove the billing, but you leave them on the calendar because the two are decoupled, and you always forget one or the other, or not always, but often do. And or sometimes you bill them at the wrong amount, and you have to go look up in a sheet. Okay, our piano 45 minutes with a level 2 teacher is this much. Okay, and so I've had admins constantly making mistakes of forgetting the billing or the booking on the enrollment or the unenrollment, or billing people at the wrong price. And in Opus1, you cannot make those mistakes. The billing and the scheduling is tightly coupled. When you enroll the students, you have to deal with the billing right now. You can do what we call a enroll now and pay later, but the invoice is there. You can't forget about it. If you unenroll a student, the invoice gets removed automatically, and you can set the end date of that lesson. You can even transfer credits. You can do all kinds of things. So these things that we, through experiencing all these pains, right, we really kind of like address all these little things that were painful and that basically, were hindering our growth. And then, when you start unlocking all that time, I've had schools, larger schools, switching from other software that I won't name, telling us, Sam, I have 3 admins now that have too much time. They used to do so much busy work. I have all these extra employees. And I told them, okay, first, don't fire them. I'm sure there's other things they can do. They can follow up on prospect. They can generate social media content. They can work on marketing. They can work on your next recital. There's so much things that they can do, but they were realizing they were busy doing so much busy work to run their school with hundreds of students that now they have all these admins having all that extra time that they can focus on what? On the students, on the parents, on the experience at your school, instead of doing things that a robot can automate, or that the cloud and the system can automate, right? So the idea is to streamline operations, remove the busy work, focus your staff on providing value to the customers. What I tell my school admins is when somebody walks in, give them a tour of the school, right? Ask them about their music background, ask them about why they want to learn music, bond with the customer, talk to the kid. And they have time to do that because the trial is already self-booked. Right? People self-book the trial. They found us online, self-book the trial. They walk in. We just click on one button to take attendance. Our admin staff can focus on the customer experience. And then guess what? By the time the mom leaves the school after the trial lesson, they already got what we call a auto conversion email. So something that says, thank you for attending your piano trial. We hope you enjoyed it. Click here to sign up. And they can sign up from their phone. Of course, they can talk to our admins to ask about a policy, and we can do our thing. But we have more time to focus on the people and focus on the experience, on the art, on the education, than doing the busy work. You know what I mean?
I want to ask you this, Sam, because when you're describing these features and what they do, and mistakes that can happen, mistakes that can't happen, I'm getting the sense, and I'm going to tread lightly here, but I'm getting the sense that you approach some of these features from a perspective of it's hard to hire good help, and these tasks have to get done. So how can I have a system where if I mistakenly make a bad hire, maybe in the admin department, and mistakes do happen, how can I make these features work so that the mistakes aren't catastrophic? They're just maybe like minor mistakes right here.
I mean, it's one way to look at it, but I think you'll agree with me, and most people listening to this will agree with me. When you hire multiple admins and those problems keep happening, the problem is not the admin you hired. It's not a one-time bad hire. When you realize you have a systemic problem. When your school policy is too complex, and it takes an admin weeks to remember it, understand it. Do you think the mom that walks in is going to understand it if your school policy is too complicated, or if you have so many different price, so many different instruments, or if your makeup policy is that you get a makeup only if it's a blue moon, if you notified us with more than 30 hours and this and that. If your system is too complex, no human. First of all, I mean, this is the thing that we tell most business owners need to understand is nobody is going to care about your business as much as you do, right? The admin you hire at the front desk is just a job for them. I mean, they love working there. There's a lot of other reasons why they want to be there, but the level of involvement they're going to have is nowhere near your own as a business owner, right? So you can't have the same expectation, right? And if you keep hiring admins and you keep having the same problems, The problem is not the admins, it's you. Not you personally, but you because your system is too complex or you don't have the right tools for them.
Yeah.
Or maybe the right training program. So there's a lot of different reasons so it's not just one bad hire. I mean, sometimes you have a bad hire and people that don't show up, or that, we've all kind of sometimes had bad admins or people that they're just not reliable. But, if your admin shows up on time but then make mistakes, maybe because you don't have the right software, maybe because you don't have the right policy, right? So look at how to solve the problems and look at, removing the judgment, right? Like I said, my admins would forget to bill students sometimes. So how do I make it that they can't forget?
That's what they would double book, right?
Yeah, they would double book a room because it was so complex to look at which room is this teacher in. And then, it would take some time a back and forth of emails to organize a makeup for one student with one teacher. No. Opus1 will tell you exactly what teacher is available and when, and if they need to be off, they submit a time off request, and those times get blocked automatically. So you cannot book a teacher on the day that you're closed or the day that the teacher is off. So the idea is we're not going to fix the humans, and the system is too complex for them. We're just going to try to streamline the operation, simplify the system, and also have the tools that can automate as much as possible. And again, so that I'd rather my admin have a conversation with the kid and the parents and talk about the value of music education and why our school is so great than having to do 50 clicks and find the right room and find, okay, how much should I bill you? I'll make sure I don't forget this. Oh, and the phone is running now. You know how busy it can be, right? So the problem is not going to be your admin, it's your tools and your system.
So on the topic of complexity, and maybe complexity isn't the adjective, but robustness is. Now, Opus1 is a very robust system, and I can see that not everyone's going to use all the features in Opus1, and that's okay. But with that robustness, I'm going to transition now into the price, right? So I've had yourself, I've had a few other founders of some other software platforms on the podcast, and Opus1 is on the higher end of the scale in terms of price for the features that are offered and comparatively to some of the other platforms. Now, maybe who is going to benefit most from a software like Opus1, and who maybe is it not the best fit for?
Right. That's a very good question. And listen, like what I tell people is, if you come to us and you have 50, 60, and 70 students and you're happy there, we may not be the right fit for you, right? And it's great if you're a solo teacher or you just have a couple of teachers and you're renting a small space and you don't really looking to scale. There's other software that are simpler to set up, cheaper, that will do just fine for you. Now, if you are already at 100, 200, you want to scale more, or you even if you're below 100 students, but you do want to scale, you're going to be hiring 2 or 3 teachers, and you really want to start making more money and grow your business, or touching and affecting a broader community in your area, you get into a software that can help you scale, right? And think about your time, right? I mean, sometimes we have people telling us, so our base package starts at $98, and we have people sometimes coming from another software that I won't name and tell us, oh, today I'm paying only $60. And I'm like, okay, and $98 is a big increase. Okay, so how much do you value your time? If I can save you just 1 or 2 hours a week, it's not worth the $20 a month extra you may have to pay for Opus. And then you're going to realize when you save dozens or hundreds of hours a month, those hours add up to thousands of dollars. And when you see that, if Opus1 can help you save enough time to book one more student, that students already pays for even our top tier package. So people quickly realize, funny, sometimes we have smaller schools that come to us and they're like, well, $98 is a lot of money. And we're like, okay, well, try it. And first of all, there's no contract. So you can start and it's monthly payment. We don't lock you in any type of long-term contract. You can stop. It's month-to-month payment. This is what I believe, by the way. Same for my music school. We have a sticky product. We have a great product. We want to retain you because we have a great offering, whether it's my music lessons or my music software. We're not retaining you because we lock you in a contract. I don't believe in contracts and or semester billing and that kind of things. I want to offer people flexibility and earn their business every month, and it's working. So if we help you scale, so going back to sometimes those customers that come to us with $90 is a lot of money, but okay, we'll try. And then within weeks or months after they go live, they're like, oh my God, we already doubled. We have 150 students now. And you know what? Now I want the SMS feature. I want the voice feature. I want your plus package with the prospect. And now they're spending $300-$400 a month with us, but they realize that they made that money tenfold on a monthly basis just from using the software and the time that they gain. And then they look at what else am I paying for? Am I paying for a phone system? That's another $60, $90 there. I'm paying for an email system, MailChimp. That might be $60, $80, $90, $100. I'm paying for Referizer, or I'm paying for an SMS system. I'm paying for now I'm starting to manage my prospect. I'm paying for Pipedrive or some other CRM. So they look at all the other things they're paying, and they start doing the math, and they're all disconnected. They all need to be exported, imported, or I'm paying an admin, 5 hours a week to sort through my prospect, and they're all in a Google sheet, and it's unmanageable, right? When you start counting all that time that you spend with your admins, the mistakes made, then you realize, maybe paying $200 or $300 a month might be really worth it, because I'm going to save thousands on the labor costs to do all that work, and those software that I can take out. We had customers, sometimes we had 4, 5, 6 different software with Zapier in between. So some of those, maybe the more technically savvy customers, sometimes that realized, like, once I switched to Opus, we had such a complex system where we had a Trello board and then Zapier, and then we created tasks automatically to make sure we don't forget this. And then we had the Pike 13 or this, and then we had Ring Central, and then we had 5 or 6 different systems. And they're like, we took them all out. Opus1 replaced all of it. And maybe the $200 or $300 a month that we're paying for Opus, we saved $500 or $600. And this is just on the software, let alone the time that we saved on, on the admin
and when
time
when I talk with music school owners and there is pushback about studio management software, I always just recommend do the math, right? Like, what is your monthly price for this thing? What are you paying an admin? How many hours is that? And it makes sense so quick. Yeah.
Yeah. And we also automate your billing. So you think about the time and the convenience that you offer parents, that they can just put their credit card in and get auto billed, and you don't spend any time on billing. I have 1,400 students who don't spend any time on billing. The invoice are generated automatically, right? With the right amount too. And we can apply discounts, we can apply different things, and credits and makeup credits when you do makeups or not. And by the way, we support different makeup models. We support the group makeup, we support the no makeup, we support the makeup only for teacher absence, we support makeup credits or for cancellation, late cancellation. There's a lot of settings. We support limits on how many makeup credits somebody can have per instrument or in a period of time. So we have all these different settings that adapt to your school policy, but it saves you so much time and allows you to scale. I mean, I'll tell you can do the math. I have 1,400 students. There was no way we would have scaled this much, without a tool that streamlined our operations. And we see, by the way, it's not just us. Now we have over 700 schools using Opus1 IO in 15 different countries, and I think over 2,000 locations, if not more. We've enabled over 10 million lessons to date, and we're growing by probably something between 30 to 50 schools a month right now. So I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of schools are switching to Opus1. There is a reason for that. And I mean, we're extremely proud that we're able to provide this industry that we love so much, a tool that really helped them scale and thrive. So yeah, it's about, and I want to add one more thing is, because I was one of them, a lot of music school owners got burned before. They were sold something that wasn't it. Right. I was sold a software that was not built for music schools in the past. And I was told, it does all these things. And then when I tried to implement, I was scratching my head. I'm like, no, it doesn't. That doesn't work for my school. This is obviously was built for a gym or yoga studio or something else than a music school. And, there are software, clearly it's in the name. I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to name them, but you can see from how they're named that they were not built for music schools. And you have schools that sometimes have to kind of like bend backwards and have to do crazy workarounds to make the software work. And if you're a music school, why are you using a gym software, right? You should be using a software built for music schools, right? And obviously we're one that was built. By the way, I'm a music school owner, but probably 80% of our employees are all musicians, teachers, people who worked at music schools as admins or teachers. So our whole DNA is music schools and performing arts schools.
So you're talking about the staff at
our employees.
Opus1. Yeah,
Opus1,
the software, not
correct.
The school, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, our VP of sales grew up in the music schools. A lot of our sales team are former guitar or drums teachers. We've been hiring people who understand this industry, who can connect with the music school owners, really understand. And why? Because when I was doing sales and I was doing a lot of the things in the early days, I would talk to people who would tell me, Sam, you're the first person I talk to that actually understands my business. I've talked to salespeople at other software, and they just don't understand what music schools are, how they operate. They don't understand the concept of makeups and teacher absences, all that stuff. You're the first person I talk to that actually uses the right language, understand what I'm going through, and then they took a chance on us, right? And it's not just me, but people that we've hired in our team. We've been really focusing on people from the industry who can really connect and help music schools. So I would say if you're a music school and you want to scale and you want to operate more efficiently, really check it out and talk to our team. And we use a musical software, one that's really built for music. So there's not that many,
right? Yeah,
built for music schools. There's a lot that are built more for the wellness industry, without naming any names, and clearly not really adapting to what you need. Use a software for your industry, and obviously Opus1 I use the best. I'm not gonna lie, but use a software that was really built for your industry by people from your industry. Will make a big difference for you.
All right, I got one more question for you, Sam.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is not related to software, but when you look across the most successful music school owners that you interact with on a fairly regular basis, do you notice any consistent traits or habits or systems or even ways of thinking that set them apart?
There's a lot. We could do a whole episode on this, and I'm happy to come back to do it. Yeah. I mean, and again, and this is what I'm about to say is really business focused, right? So, for example, I don't want to upset anybody, but I found that private lessons are more conductive to a recurring business because they don't have start and end, and people are, your lifetime and your lifetime value with the customer will be better with private lessons. So I see some of the bigger schools, those that scale in the hundreds and thousands, focusing mostly on private lessons, recurring business, monthly billing, simple streamline operations, simple billing, obviously everything automated with Opus. I found that flexibility around makeups are very important. And if you can automate it with Opus, it's even better because you don't have the headaches that come with it. Parents appreciate. You can retain your students longer if you offer flexibility, some level of flexibility for rescheduling. By the way, I have nothing against group classes. I do group classes at my school. We see a lot of schools who are doing group classes. They have certain advantages and certain trade-offs that you have to be careful about. Something that I say also, again, purely business focused. Think about your customer lifetime and the lifetime value of those customers, right? So think about, for example, a 16 or 17-year-old guitar student that's going to come in, learn 5 chords, and then go and be off to college in a year. What is their lifetime and lifetime value compared to a 6-year-old piano student who's going to do a BRSM exam and stay with you for 10 years, right? So obviously, if your thing is teaching guitar, teach guitar. At the end of the day, we're not doing this for the money. We're doing this because we love the arts and because we're there. But if you want to scale your business, think about where the money is. Think about what the opportunity to scale are, and think about certain business KPIs like your lifetime and the lifetime value. How much is it worth spending to get a new customer? And how much the customer is going to bring you in revenue over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, more? What kind of customers will stay with you longer than others? When you do your teacher performance reviews, right? It's a tough time, right? Everybody wants a raise, and there is inflation. It's hard to live on a teacher salary. So I have I have over 50 teachers. So I almost have every week a teacher performance review and a tough salary negotiation. You know what I do? In Opus1.io, I have a per teacher retention report. I can see month to month how many students this teacher gained or lost. And I can calculate the lifetime of their average lifetime of their students. And I can see how many. So sometimes you look at a teacher like, oh, this teacher is doing great. They're full. Great. But guess what? If that teacher loses 3, 4, 5 students every month, I am paying money in ads, in admin time, in trials that are discounted to get new students in. So providing that teacher a flow of new students every month, that's costing me money versus a teacher that has 98, 100% retention.
Right.
So there are certain business KPIs that you need to look at. Your room utilization, your per teacher student retention. This will help you make decisions. Decisions are not made in a vacuum on how you give somebody a raise, if you hire a new teacher, if you should offer this instrument or not, if you should focus on your ads on piano or violin or guitar. Everything comes from data. And if you don't have the right tools, you cannot have the right data, right? So Opus1 gives you all these business KPIs that you need to really make the right decision. By the way, our community, our Facebook group has a lot of discussions, and we help you also identify the KPIs you need and use those reports. These reports give you the data that you really need to make decisions, right? So to go back to the teacher example, I tell the teacher, look, You're doing great, but you lose 3, 4, 5 students every month. Look at your data. It's right there. So guess what? Every new student I bring you cost me this much in ads or in time. I'd rather give you that money than give it to Google or Facebook to pay for more ads to get you new students. So how about we work together to help you retain your students longer or retain them better during the summer, so I can give you more money instead of giving it to Google in ads.
I love that. I love that approach. Yeah.
That's a much easier conversation to have because it's rooted in data. It's not rooted in I like you, I don't like you, and you're getting a raise, you don't get a raise, right? So
right.
Again, this is just one example, but I mean, room utilization is another one. My wife had this complex set of spreadsheets she used to use to see, okay, do we have room to hire another teacher and which day do we have available? Right now you have a room utilization report in Opus1.io. You can see, and we have multiple locations and up to 14 rooms per location, so it can be a lot to manage. But we can quickly see at a glance, which rooms are underutilized, which rooms are not utilized, and we can quickly see, okay, we have you're going to have rooms with a drum set, a room with a guitar, with the guitar amps, and room with pianos. So you don't know, you have to look at what are the resources that you have and what is available for you to make your next hire maybe. So do you have room to hire maybe another full-time piano teacher or not, right? Maybe if all your piano teachers are full, but your violin teachers are not full, right? So maybe you should focus your ads on piano and not violin, right? Or the opposite. Maybe I forgot what example I just gave you, but you know what I mean, right? So
yeah.
A lot of these decisions you have to make daily about, do I give this teacher a raise? Do I hire another teacher? Should I spend more money on this type of ad or this one? Should all be rooted in data. And we see obviously the schools at scale, those that have the right tool, get the right data, make the right decision, and then able to really spend their marketing money in the right place, focus on the right customers, retain the customers longer, and eventually have a thriving business that can really sustain growing and having a more comfortable and happy life with happy teachers and happy admins.
Right. And that's what we all want. So I think that's fantastic insight. So Sam, where can people get a demo of Opus1, or where do they, if they're interested, where can they reach out and find out more?
I'm in our website, Opus1.io. Check it out. You can book a demo with our team. We also have a Facebook group, a Facebook page. There's a YouTube channel as well. We have, a lot of videos and demos. But I would say probably just contact our team, start with a demo. And by the way, our team is really, and we're really careful about this. Our sales team are all, like I said, music professionals. They will ask you about your pain points. They're not going to just try to sell you a software. They will help you solve your pain points. So talk to our team. Tell them what are you struggling with? Where are you in number of students? What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to scale? Are you trying to do this? Are you trying to find more time to teach more? Are you trying to find more time to maybe spend less time in the business and on the business? Maybe open another location, right? Or maybe do something else. We have schools that went on and started nonprofit, and there was so much saved time from running the day-to-day operations that they could start doing a nonprofit and doing things they're really passionate about instead of running billing and scheduling and payroll. So talk to our team, go to our website, book a demo, and join the other hundreds of music schools that are switched to Opus, and I think you won't regret it.
All right. Well, Sam Lellouche, it was a pleasure. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, and I'm looking forward to. I know we're going to see each other at NAMM in January, correct?
We have we have a booth at NAMM. Actually, thanks for reminding me. We've been at NAMM for the past 3-4 years now. We'll be at NAMM. I don't have the exact booth number, but it will be on our website and our Facebook page as well. Come check us out at NAMM. And we also have, I know you have a speaking engagement there. We're also going to be speaking there as well. And we will be hosting a customer appreciation dinner. So, which we'll invite not just customers, but also other non-customers. So if you want to meet our team, NAMM is a great time in January in Anaheim to come meet us.
Great. Fantastic. Well, I will be there, and I'm looking forward to meeting up in person, Sam. Well, thank you for joining me today on Rock School Proprietor Podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me. That was great.
If you have topic suggestions or questions, please contact us at info@rockschoolproprietor.com. We'd love to hear from you and hear suggestions for future shows. We've put together some free resources for teachers and studio owners over at rockschoolproprietor.com and a private Facebook group called The Modern Music School. Please join us over there. On social, I'm at rock.school.proprietor on Instagram and John Kazicki on both LinkedIn and Blue Sky. Your ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify are always appreciated. And if you enjoyed the show and and gain insight from our conversation, then we count that as a win. All we ask in return is that you pay it forward, and please share the show with someone you think needs to hear it.